The collective gasp that escapes the table is audible throughout the room, and I can see everyone looking in our direction while my father sputters for words. However, Ava simply howls with laughter, so much so that the mayor's wife looks at her as though she's lost it. It's difficult to keep my composure because my sister has the funniest laugh. Ava has one of those laughs that make you laugh because the sound is ridiculous. My mother elbows her and shuts her up effectively with a glare, while my father growls at me. His canines slip from between his parted lips as he glares up at me. The mayor's wife looks at my father questioningly. "You have another daughter?" she asks, clearly shocked by this news. Alpha Nixon, who is about my father's age, with thick blonde hair combed to one side, looks outraged as he stares at us all. My father tries to explain before turning his anger on me, and his hands slap the table. But I just stare unflinchingly. This is my home, and if he wants to deny my existence, fine, but he won't do it under my roof. My mother grips his forearm and glares at Alpha Nixon's wife like she's about to take her on, but a growl from my father puts her head down as he glares daggers at me.
"You are not my daughter. You haven't been since the day you became a rogue whore."
His words stop at the same moment I feel tingles rush across my neck as a warm hand caresses the side of it, then moves to my shoulder. Valen's scent wafts to me before I feel his lips graze my jawline, and he buries his face in the curve of my shoulder. My father's anger dissolves, replaced with clear and utter shock. Valen tugs me to his side when his hand moves down my arm to my waist, pulling me closer to him. The room turns silent, so silent you could hear a pin drop.
"I don't think I've introduced my mate,"
Valen says calmly, though his aura is deadly, and Alpha Nixon's wife drops her head, her cheeks heating. I notice how uncomfortable all the alphas in the room become. The tension high as Valen, the most prominent figure in the city and strongest, most feared alpha, addresses my father. My father huffs and shakes his head before he blows up. Alpha Nixon glares at my father, and my father looks at Ava, who shrinks back in her seat, although the smile never leaves her lips. This is prime entertainment for her.
"I know exactly who this rogue whore is, and she is not your mate,"
he adds, shooting me a glare.
"See, that's where you're wrong, Alpha John. Everly is no rogue whore. She's my mate, and Luna of the Nightshade Pack,"
Valen says.
"You're mistaken. This girl is a rogue whore. I don't know what she's told you, Alpha Valen, but she has a son. She's tricked you."
My father dares to say. Murmurs break out throughout the room.
"You mean Valerian?"
Alpha Valen asks before turning to look at the back of the room, where all the children are playing. I glance over to see Valerian watching us, and Valen waves him over. Valerian smiles and rushes to his father. Valen bends down and picks him up with one arm. "Who's that, Daddy?" Valerian whispers, looking at my parents curiously.
"That is your grandfather, grandmother, and your Auntie Ava."
Valen whispers to him and kisses his cheek. The whispers in the background grow louder as everyone watches the Blood Alpha, the most notorious alpha in the city, doting on his son. My father sputters, lost for words, and Valen grips my waist tighter as he turns to look at my father.
"I'd like to introduce you to my son, Valerian Solace. The resemblance is uncanny, don't you think?"
Valen smirks, daring my father to deny what he's saying. Valerian could not be mistaken for anyone else's son. Valen's bloodline are the only ones in the city with a genetic mutation that causes them all to have amber eyes. No other wolf I've come across has that trait. And more than that, they have the same scent, and Valerian's aura can already be felt, showing he's born from not one alpha, but 2 alpha wolves. Anyone looking close enough could tell they are father and son. If anyone has their doubts, no one speaks up. They know better than to piss off my mate.
"The eyes,"
Alpha Nixon murmurs, looking at Valerian and Valen, then tosses his napkin on the table before turning his questioning to my father. I see a few other alphas stand and look over at my son and Valen, also recognizing the obvious traits most look past when seeing my son. Cameras start flashing around us everywhere, and I know this will be splashed all over the morning paper and in news headlines tomorrow.
Did you know?
Alpha Nixon asks, looking at my parents. My mother has her head down, not liking the change in direction and the accusation behind Alpha Nixon's words.
How could he? Alpha John had her existence wiped from every database in the city the moment she refused to abort my grandson.
Comes Kalen's voice as he moves up behind us.
We had a deal.
My father growls.
And the deal still stands. You said Valen is to marry your daughter, or are you going to continue to deny that Everly here is?
Kalen asks, and my father growls before glaring at me. My father stands, and the veins in his neck bulge and throb with growing anger as he clearly fights the urge to shift. His claws scratch down the table and slice through the thin cloth. His entire body is trembling with rage, and Valen passes Valerian to me before shoving me behind him.
If you have an issue, John, about who my mate is, I suggest we take it outside.
Valen warns him, his tone deadly calm, yet the warning clear. My father knows he's no match for Valen, maybe in his younger years, but not now. One thing about auras is they're a warning for whomever you're messing with, and Valen's aura outweighs everyone here, proving he's the real king of this city. No one in this room is daring enough to go up against him. He didn't get the title of Blood Alpha by not shedding blood and destroying those who challenge him. My father sneers before looking at my mother, who has remained silent.
We're leaving.
He growls at her. He suddenly stands, grabbing her arm and yanking her up to stand by his side as he does. Everyone at the surrounding table jumps away.
Ava, now!
My father booms. She smirks as she stands before speaking loud enough that the entire room hears the words that leave her lips. I'll catch you later, sis, she chuckles, pecking my cheek as she moves past me before cupping Valerian's cheek with her hand. Gosh, how you've grown, young man. And damn, do you look like your father? She laughs, winking at me. My father growls and snarls, baring his teeth at her, and she smiles before strolling after my father. No doubt she'll pay for that when she gets home, but I can see the defiance and determination to call my father out publicly.
Well, that was an interesting change of events.
I hear an alpha say from another table. I glance over at the man, and he undoes his tie, tossing it on the table.
Indeed it is.
Alpha Nixon, the city mayor, says as he purses his lips. I turn and stare after my father as he shoves through the exit doors, the media outside snapping photos, and we all hear his furious growl ring out through the night, making them jump away and scatter in fright.
Back to the celebrations, everybody. I need a drink.
Kalen says, breaking the strange tension that has returned. I pass Valerian back to Valen, and my mate looks at me.
What's wrong?
He asks, and I shake my head. I'll be back, I tell him, darting off and out the doors after my family that just left. The camera lights hurt my eyes as I try to look for the car. Spotting it, I rush over to them before my mother can get in. Mom? I call, and she looks at me before looking back at the car. Seeming to make her decision, she moves toward me. My father gets out of the car again, yelling at her to get back in, but I clutch her hands. His fury is loud enough to keep the media away. No one dares come close enough to hear us. My mother hugs me as my father growls and screams at her. I have to go, she whispers, with tears in her eyes. She glances at my furious father, who's about to stalk over to her, no doubt to drag her back to the car. I'll call you. Now I know where you are. He can't keep me away. I have to go before your father comes over. Wait, just let me, I beg. She shakes her head and squeezes my fingers. I have to go. I need to calm your father down. You have no idea what you've just done, she says, confusing me, before rushing off and past my father, who was stalking toward her. He stops, looking me up and down and sneering, about to say something before looking over my shoulder. I turn to see what he's looking at, only to see Valen coming up behind me. My father growls before turning on his heel and returning to his car. Valen wraps his arms around my waist, pulling me against him and away from the car as my father reverses out of his parking spot. Then he tears out of the place, speeding off down the road. I sigh. What a long night. Valen kisses my cheek before pressing his nose into my neck.
Are you okay?
He whispers, and I nod, wondering what my mother meant by her words. I will be, I tell him, before letting him lead me back to the restaurant. Toward the end of the night, everyone had calmed down, and the cleanup began. Despite the exhaustion and aching feet from standing on them all night, after the incident with my father, the night actually turned out well. In addition to introducing me to many people who were actually nice, Valen made an official announcement to the media at the end of the meeting. Now that everything is about to come to an end for the night, I'm eager to crawl into bed. I notice Kaylin lingering a little longer when Valen comes over, with Valerian asleep in his arms.
I have people on the way to help with cleanup. They'll be here soon. Come home. We need to get him to bed,
Valen says, leaning down to peck my lips when I look up at him and smooth down Valerian's hair, just as Kaylin walks over to us.
Actually, can I speak with you for a minute?
Kaylin asks, and my eyes go wide. He isn't seriously going to tell him now, is he?
Sure.
Valen motions toward a nearby table, but Kaylin shakes his head and reaches for Valerian. Valen watches him, staring oddly at his father, while my heart beats frantically in my chest. Kaylin hands Valerian to me, and I grab him. Valen's brows wrinkle, and I can feel his confusion through the bond. We can stay here for the night, I tell Valen, and he nods.
Fine, I'll be up in a minute. Just let me go lock my car back up,
he tells his father before walking off. I didn't mean right now, I hiss at Kaylin when Valen is far enough away.
I need to get it over with. It's time, Everly. Besides, if I don't do it now, I worry I won't be able to bring myself to do it.
He sighs. I chew my lip, slightly worried about what will happen. Looking toward the car park where Valen went to lock his car, I sigh before nodding. I'll get Zoe to watch him for me, and I'll be back in a minute, I tell him before quickly escaping back to the apartment. Zoe is setting Casey down to bed when I walk in. Marcus is there, resting on the couch with his head back.
Fun night,
Marcus chuckles while shaking his head. It's about to get worse, too, I say, and he sits up, but I shake my head instead, quickly taking Valerian to bed and stripping his shoes and jacket off before tucking him in. He'll pitch a fit in the morning about sleeping in his clothes, but right now I have bigger issues to deal with, like the explosion I'm expecting when the news of Valerie comes out. Zoe, can you watch him for me for a few minutes? I ask her while walking back out to the living room. She's in the process of removing her shoes and looks over at me. Of course. Is everything all right? She asks, and no sooner than she says it, Marcus jerks upright as we hear a thunderous growl that's clearly an alpha's roar of rage. My heart skips a beat as I run for the door. Marcus, though, is faster, beating me down the steps as he takes off. The door flings against the wall with a bang, and I cringe at the sound, hoping it didn't wake the kids as I race across the gardens to the restaurant. Horrified staff stare out the window at the parking lot, and Marcus shoves through them and out the doors. I gasp when I see Valen pummeling his father. Kaylin is on the ground, while Valen rains blow after blow into his face. Blood sprays everywhere, and I push past my stunned workers and through the glass doors just as Marcus grabs him, yanking him away from his face. only for Valen to slam his hands into Marcus's chest, launching him backward into the side of a car. His body creates an outline in the metal, and Marcus shakes himself out, looking dazed. "Valen, stop!" I call out while racing over to him. He snarls and punches his father again. I grab his arm desperately. Kalen isn't even trying to fight back and has his arms up, letting his son pummel him bloody. Valen roars when I grab his arm and yank it back, making me fall backward. My ass smacks the ground, and I grunt at the impact. The hard ground causes my tailbone to ache. "Valen, stop!" I scream, getting to my feet and grabbing him again. My grip on both his arms, however, is ineffective. Having never seen him so angry before, I'm afraid he'll kill his father. Despite my minimal weight compared to his muscled frame, I shove at him. I'm pretty sure that I injured myself in the process. I topple on top of him, and he sits up, but I scramble back and move in front of Kalen as Valen launches himself at him. Anticipating the impact, I close my eyes, but the crash never comes. Instead, a ferocious growl screams from him, and my eyes open. The gasp that leaves me stutters as I find myself suddenly nose to nose with his wolf form towering over me, his paw in the air with claws extended, looking for a kill. They abruptly retract as he places the paw on my shoulder. I can feel Kalen shaking behind me as Valen snarls, snapping his teeth at his father's legs. I grab his furry head and pull on his ears to draw his attention away from his father. "Stop," I say in a barely audible whisper. Valen's eyes still sparkle with tears, and he strikes my hands down with a massive paw. Kalen sits up, blood streaming down his face. Valen paces in his wolf form, trying to find a way past me to reach his father. However, I know he won't attack me to get to him.
"I'm sorry, son."
Kalen chokes out, groaning. Turning my head, I look at him. Kalen's face is so swollen he's barely recognizable. He coughs before placing his fingers in his mouth and removing a tooth. Valen's answer is a growl as I rush to help Kalen stand. The sound of cracking bones reaches my ears as I hear Valen shift back behind me. Keeping a grip on Kalen, who is unsteady on his feet, we move toward his car. I fish his keys out of his pocket and unlock his car for him.
"I'm all right, dear. Go check on my son,"
he hisses, falling heavily in his seat. With a nod, I turn to find Valen has walked back to his car. "Valen?" I call, and he turns to look at me as I walk over to him. The look he gives me makes me stop.
You knew. You knew and said nothing,"
he says. I bite the inside of my lip and nod. Hurt shines in his eyes as Valen looks at the hotel.
"She gave you this place, didn't she?"
he asks. My lips quiver as he turns his gaze back to me. "She recognized your son," I tell him, and he sucks in a deep breath.
"You should have told me,"
he says, and I can feel his heart breaking, the sadness for a loss he didn't actually lose all those years, the sinking feeling that I betrayed him. "Valen, wait, just let me—" He gets in his car and slams it in reverse, smacking into the brick flower bed in front of the main office before tearing out of the parking lot. The engine of his car roars as he floors it down the street.
"I take it that's what you meant when you said it'd get a lot worse?"
Marcus says as I rub my arms against the cool breeze. He stops beside me with a groan while rubbing his lower back, and Kalen pulls out of his own parking space before lowering his window.
"He'll forgive you. It's me he's furious at,"
Kalen says with a sigh. I nod as I watch him leave, feeling like a piece of me is leaving too. 3 days later. The only time I've heard from Valen is via text message. 3 days have passed, and he's still angry at me. I know he spent most of those days drunk. I can feel a growing unease sitting in my stomach through the bond. Standing in front of the school, Valerian and I wait for him to come get him. Yet the feeling through the bond tells me he's passed out, sleeping. In no way am I letting my son go with him if he's drunk. I hope it's just my guilt for not telling him sooner. "What time is it?" Valerian asks me, looking both ways down the street for his father's car. Retrieving my phone from my pocket, I glance at the time and sigh. He's almost an hour late. "He'll come. He promised on the phone," Valerian says, while nodding his head and walking back to the bench seat in front of the school. I wander over to him and sit next to him. "Maybe he's in traffic," Valerian says, fidgeting with his fingers. "How about we call him when we get home? Perhaps he's busy," I offer. "But he promised he would be here," Valerian says, while looking at me teary-eyed. He's been asking for his father since the morning after the Alpha meeting, asking where he was and when he could see his father, and I kept making up excuses. "Did you have a fight?" he asks, and I turn to look at him. "You did. You upset him and made him leave us, didn't you?" he says, looking angry. "No, he's upset about his mother," I tell him. "But Grandma died years ago." "And people stay sad for a long time," I try to explain. "Well, you can take me to him," Valerian says, hopping up and walking toward the car. I try to call Valen on the short walk back to my truck, but he doesn't pick up. I don't think he's home. We can try to call him when we get back home. "No, he promised me. I want to see him. I want my dad." Valerian screams at me. Startled at his outburst, I stare at him before pulling myself together and kneeling beside him, wiping the tears that streaked on his cheeks. "Valerian, I don't think you should see him right now. Your father needs time," I tell him, but he shakes his head. "What if he needs me? Please, Mom, please," Valerian begs, and I drop my head and pinch the bridge of my nose. I sigh before looking back at his big amber eyes filled with tears. "Fine, but we just knock, and if he doesn't answer, we go home," I tell him. He nods, bouncing on his heels in excitement, then races toward my car, climbing in the back and buckling himself in. Jumping into the driver's seat, we head to Valen's hotel. The regret I feel upon stepping out of that elevator is instant. No guards stand in the corridor, and the smell of liquor has Valerian pinching his nose. Grabbing his arm, I try to steer him back into the elevator, but he takes off, racing down the hall. I chase after him when he pushes inside the wide-open door. "Dad! Dad!" Valerian screams excitedly before he falls silent. Rushing through the door, I can see Valerian standing in the hall, where it opens up to the living room. He looks over his shoulder at me before looking back into the mess. Glass crunches under his shoes as he walks off searching for his father. "Valerian, wait!" I call, trying to catch up to him, only to stop when I walk in and see it for myself. Broken glass lies everywhere. The couches have been upturned. The china is broken. Blood is spattered on the walls, and the place looks like it's been burgled. I follow the sounds coming from Valerian to find him standing in the doorway to the bathroom. "Dad?" Valerian murmurs, and I grip his shoulder. Valen is passed out on the tiled floor. "What's wrong with him?" Valerian asks, looking around at the mess. I can tell that now he's found his father, he's on the verge of a meltdown as he takes in all the mess and the state of him. "How about I call Papa, and you stay with him for the night while I look after Daddy, okay?" I ask him as he stands there, trembling and looking terrified. His eyes tear up, and he glances over at his father on the floor. His entire body is now shaking, and he nods his head before stepping into the bathroom and leaning down to shake his father's shoulder. "Dad?" I hear him murmur, and his father groans but doesn't wake. Valerian leans down and kisses his cheek. Pulling my phone from my pocket, I call Kaylin, who immediately agrees to come get Valerian. Once he picks up my son, I walk back into the house before slowly beginning to clean the place. I'm furious that he let it get this way, knowing full well what his son is like. The place is absolutely trashed and stinks like a brewery. After sweeping up the glass and mopping the floor, I walk back into the bathroom. Now that the hall is clear of glass, I drag him to his room. It takes me 20 minutes to lift him onto the bed. He groans and mumbles but doesn't wake up. And by the time I'm done, I am absolutely livid. I drive all the way back to my hotel, fuming, and snatch the letter and the keys from his mother's storage out of the safe before driving back. Valen has no excuse for breaking his son's heart as he did. Fair enough, he was pissed at me, but Valerian didn't deserve to see him like that. I also blame myself for bringing our son here. An hour later, I've found all the liquor bottles in the place and have started tipping them down the drain when a hungover Valen stumbles out of the room, bumping into the TV unit and clutching his head in his hands. Ignoring him, I continue pouring the bottles down the sink when he rubs his eyes.
Everly?
He questions, seeming confused before his eyes widened.
What day is it?
Monday. You were supposed to pick Valerian up, I say, trying to keep the anger out of my tone. He mutters, then groans and clutches his hair, banging on the side of his head with his fists.
Why are you here?
He asks, staggering to the kitchen counter before falling onto a stool. He drops his head onto his arms. Did you not hear me? You were supposed to pick him up, but instead, we come here and find you passed out on the floor in the bathroom. All because Valerian begged me to bring him to you.
Wait, Valerian was here?
He asks, whipping his head up from his arms. Yes, you promised him. Then he walks into this place looking like a shithole with you drunk.
He saw me?
Valen asks, and the feeling through the bond is one of sheer guilt and panic. He looks around the room frantically, as if hoping to spot Valerian.
Where is he?
He asks, getting up and rushing to his son's room. He's not here. Your father has him, I say, and he freezes, snarling and turning on his heel, then stalking toward me.
You let that man take him?
He growls angrily. Yes, because he asked for you and you were unavailable. I understand you're upset, but don't punish your son for it, Valen, I say, walking over to my handbag. I rummage for the letter Valerie sent to me for him after her death. Her handwriting is on the front. I swallow the lump that forms in my throat, and tears prick my eyes from just thinking of her before I turn around.